Good afternoon. I hope you're not too sleepy after the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon. And I'm glad to see a large crowd here. I can't see anybody. The lights are too bright. The room looks full. So, welcome. Okay. So, today I'm going to talk about something which has become the imperative for uh, how we practice and it's no longer enough to have a green badge. By default, everything you do from now on has to be sustainable. It's a hygiene factor. It's no longer a certification. Certifications are done. If it's not, if your design does not include that as one of the primary goals in whatever level that you do, there's no point. Don't do it. Don't bother. So unfortunately, this kind of philosophy has yet to extend to larger scales. It's somewhat visible in, I see a lot of stalls here trying to do something, but it's not enough it has to extend even to infrastructure. Where the city is, you know what trouble Bangalore is going through, what with school buses stuck in potholes and children making videos saying we are sitting for 2 hours and the government dismissing it as blackmail or politics. We don't know really where the city is going. And I believe that basically we don't, as Indians, there's something wrong with us, frankly, all of us, in the sense that we think that the commons, everything like you're sitting in a place like this, it could be anywhere in the world, well restored, looks good, perfect lighting, okay, air conditioning, whatever. It's a little warm today. But the moment you step out on the street, you're stepping into a ditch with flowing sewage. So, this sharp contrast between the indoors and the outdoors, the public realm must end. And as architects and designers, we have to take leadership. The engineers are not going to do it. Right? And I really feel, and today I will illustrate what I mean by how architects can play a role beyond responding to a commission. What if you wrote the commission yourself? What if you gave yourself a job? Why do you wait for somebody else to ask you to do what to do? Right? So we have to think like that. Who thinks like that already? And you notice that people who think that there is a specific India way to do things, suddenly the profession advances. Architecture is still stuck in we worship some great white gods like some Corbusier, who's completely irrelevant anymore. Relevant at his time, I am sure. But look at, say, for instance, Indian advertising. Right? Do you see a single Indian ad with Western people in it? Every ad is completely Indian. And it uses words like dhamaka, sale, etc. And you see that all advertising which in the last 10 years, whether it's on your mobile or on print, has become desi, has become appealing to you, appealing to Indian people. You see the same thing happening to a certain extent in graphic design. We have our own type foundries, you see good quality typography, you see very good quality graphic design, and you see brands which express themselves in multiple Indian languages with the same with a very clever design language. But unfortunately, architecture still is stuck in some 1970s fossil fuel era ideology, and we're not evolving to what I would call a sense of what I call modern tropical. Or if you want to give it a new name, call it tropical modern. What should be modern architecture with tropical climate sensibilities and a sustainable outlook for this country? What is it that going forward? Right? We can't keep living on Brihadishwara temple and how great we were in the past and etc. etc. I think it's time for all of you, particularly the new generation. How many in the room are Gen Z? I'm sure everyone. Oh, wow, I thought as much. Anyway, and please note that you'll soon be replaced by one group called Gen A. No. And I'm also Gen A, but that stands for ancient. Okay. All right. So my interest, I mean, Venkatramanan Associates or VA, as we are known in the city, has been here for 55 years this year. It's our 55th year. And my personal interests also have gone into how to make the city better. Many of you have seen many buildings, but I want to walk you through the process of how they were created, right? Cities are living organisms. A great city is great only if and only when it is made by everybody. You understand? I didn't say that. Jane Jacob said it. But it's a great quote. They only become only if everyone is part of it. They grow, they prosper, and then they decay, like what's happening to our city now. And if you're lucky and there is a committed group of people who are willing to do it, and that they're in this room, I can tell you, the city can heal. It can heal itself and become a great place. Okay? Can we build a city which not just sustains human ambition, of which there's lots in Bangalore, I'm sure. Everybody's ambitious, but also find a way to live in harmony with nature? Are these two possible? The words economy and ecology come from the same Greek root, oikos, Oikos, which means home. Right? That's what it means. But it's strange to think that what we think are opposite of each other, economy is the opposite of ecology, has the same root. So we must learn to balance both. Right? A short history of Bangalore. How many from Bangalore in the room? Or at least that means more than 10 years. Put your hands down. Okay, not bad. All right. More than 10 years, you qualify, because if you drink Kaveri water, there's a secret ingredient in it. Right? If you live in Whitefield, you will come and go because they drink borewell water. Everywhere else, we're drinking Kaveri, there's a special ingredient which never allows you to leave, even if you go away somewhere else. Right? So it is known, it is one of the oldest cities in India. People don't know that. In 2037, we will complete 500 years. That makes us older than Chennai, it makes us older than Calcutta, and it makes us older than Bombay. Only Delhi and Jaipur, and of course, Varanasi is older than everything else in the whole world. So we have the oldest city in the world also. Right? And Bangalore has moved from, it started as a trader city, a multiple group of traders in the old city. It became a city where the first rocket was invented by Tipu Sultan and used against the British. So science, technology. It was also a city where the British established their largest cantonment in India. We are sitting in the heart of it right now, right? Curiously, in the past, it was also a great city of manufacturing under Vishwesvaraya, whose birthday was just a few days ago. It became so many factories. The first electric lamps were made here. The first porcelain was made here. Every lot of, like even now, sandal soap, which is exported all. It had unusually highly industrial base at that time. Mahatma Gandhi in 1977 wrote a pamphlet called Hind Swaraj, where he argued that the future of India stayed in the villages, right? And he was already influential at that time. But Vishwesvaraya, who was a Diwan of Mysore, instead wrote a rebuttal called Industrialize or Perish. That was his slogan. And he actually, and what we think is IT industry, most people think Bangalore is about the same age as Infosys, about 1990 or something, right? And we don't realize that the roots of the technological base that we have now, what I would rather call the Silicon Plateau, not the Silicon Valley, we are sitting on a ridge on top of a hill, right? Is actually has its roots from more than 100 years ago. Okay? Of course, R&D, one of the oldest research institutions was the Indian Institute of Science, set up in 1910. Right? And of course, today, this is one of our large projects. You must have seen this. Many of you have visited, all of you must have gone there. And I'm just showing this to illustrate that how you can combine. The most important part of this project for me is not the buildings. It's the open space in the middle with the lake, which is actually recycled sewage water. No water leaves this compound ever, except by evaporation. Right? It doesn't connect, and everything is done. And when I came up with this 20 years ago, there was a big backlash against gated communities in Bangalore, saying that, oh, these rich people, NRI types and all are paying dollars and, putting compound walls and living in some simulation of California in Whitefield or wherever. And there was a big opposition, and I went to the developer and said, let's make an ungated community, because nobody was listening to me when I was talking about public spaces. So I went and told the developer, let's create a public space inside a private compound, a private public space. So if you notice, if you go there, nobody asks you who you are. There's no pressure on you to buy anything if you don't want to. You can just go enjoy that promenade in front of the water body with fountains. And every evening I see kids screaming and running up and down, and families enjoying themselves, almost like what you would expect in a beach or a riverfront. Bangalore is also the largest city in the world, not next to a natural feature. It's not next to a river, sea, mountain. So we have to create our own now. Okay? We have to create our own places where people are inclusive and welcome. And this is today. We moved from what I call almost when I was a child, it was like a misty paradise. Early morning, you can't see the road because there's mist. I prefer that, I think, instead of pollution. But literally, the visibility used to be like some 10 meters, that's all. And it used to be all misty. And by evening also, it used to be misty. From that, we have become the world's largest parking lot. Right? Yeah, because nothing moves. It's a parking garage, the biggest parking garage in the whole world. Right? So, we architects, we will take something like this, which is Cubbon Park. Okay? And we think putting glass boxes in the middle of that somehow solves the problem. This is what is happening to the whole city. The last big park in Bangalore was made in 1880. Can you believe it? 145 years ago. All of you should get up and tell the government, please give us more giant park spaces. Instead of giving parking spaces, give us parks instead. We don't want parking. Right? So what can you do? So I will illustrate what I said in 3 projects that I'll show you. Okay? What I call the 3R formula. What must we do to renew? This is a great example of urban renewal, right? Adaptive change. This used to be a school. Now it's a public space. Right? It's not exactly a public space, but it's open to the public in some sense. And as architects, it's not enough it's also important to create something brand new, which, as I said, what is tropical modern? What is that style? If you have to actually make a building out of it. And finally, how can you bring something which is destroyed back to life? I think these are good missions to have as architects. Right? Many of you must have seen this project. How many in the room? Quite a few. So I'll walk you through how it was done. I've never actually spoken about it in public for a very long time. Right? So this is an unusual thing. It is the largest standing bungalow in the whole city. It's a 20,000 square feet, the original bungalow. It was actually built by this gentleman on the left, who was also responsible for the mosque on Mosque Road. He was he also is the founder of the Federation of Karnataka Chambers and Industry, great friend of Vishwesvaraya, and an unusually, there used to be a tradition in Bangalore that very important people who have contributed to the city. That's the difference between the billionaires of old, or the equivalent billionaires of old, and the billionaires of today. The billionaires of old always contributed to public buildings and spaces with their money. They made it happen. The billionaires of today don't do that anymore. I don't know why. Something has gone wrong. And this Haji Sir Ismail Said was a great benefactor, and he was the one who built his house for himself, and it originally was called Ismailia. the house. And then he, for some reason, he sold it to the Narasimha Wadayar, who was the Yuvaraja, that is the heir apparent. And finally, even he didn't occupy it. And it was finally bought by this unusual character called Vilam Manikvelu Mudlayar. One of his cousins built this place. This building you're sitting in was his cousin. Right? And that guy also was a big, he's probably the richest man in Bangalore in the 1920s and 1930s. Right? And it had, that he lost all his money, the property fell into disuse, it was falling apart. You can see the decay. These were the original photographs of slowly it was crumbling, and the government took it over and decided to, they did something else with it for a while, but then they later decided to convert it to the NGMA, which is under the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. So they had a competition, we won it, and we did a this is how you do it. This is a thorough analysis of it from a structural point of view, how to assess a heritage building. This was done by people from Intac at that time, okay? And you can see the decay in the whole thing, right? And we came up with this idea. The government wanted to build a very large gallery, but I felt that the old bungalow, from a conservation and a reuse, adapt point of view, as well as is like a little diamond. And whatever we do, the museums today all over the world scream saying, I am a museum. The museum becomes more important than the art inside. Have you noticed that each museum is doing gymnastics to show off like they are only art? The art inside gets overshadowed. So we decided to make a very low-key thing where we said we'll build a ring around the museum. A diamond also needs a ring, right, around it. And the ring is what will have all the new facilities. And the architecture will be consistent, right? And these were the original sketches of it. That was the old building in the middle. I don't know whether this is the old villa, and it's about 5 acres of land around it. And these were the smaller gallery, the larger gallery, the conservation gallery. And somebody in the 80s, an architects combined, had built this auditorium here, which we decided to keep. And then added a gift shop, because most Indian museums are actually mausoleums for dead people. Nobody goes there. So how to make it an active space is to give it a bit of a activity zone, food, gift shop, changing exhibitions and so on. So it was designed like that from the scratch, right? So I won't read it. So as I said, we host events. We are not the event. This is the whole point of but at the same time, we're a strong architectural presence. So it's balancing both. This was the final way it was set up. And every single tree you see there was the original tree preserved. Not even one tree was cut. The buildings all skate around the trees. And the tree which says number 4, which is under number 4, is the largest Ficus plastica. Can anybody tell me what that tree is? Ficus elastica. Ficus elastica. Ficus is the most common breed. You see the banyan in Bangalore, that's a Ficus bengalensis. You see the bushes on the roadside, that is Ficus benjamina. And you eat the stuff at home, figs, that's also a ficus. And this is Ficus elastica, curiously known as the rubber tree. It's a giant rubber tree. Next time you go there, see it. That's how rubber trees move, but normally they are controlled so that they can be harvested. This one's gone wild. This is about some 70 feet tall. Right? And we made this, the building in the garden. The original idea of a bungalow sitting in a large thing, but cleverly rethought out so that it becomes an art gallery. Right? And we used classical design principles, axes, kept the quorum, made sure that the rhythm of the colonnade is the same as the rhythm of the old building. And instead of just copying, I could have easily made some building that look like that. Like that's what some other architects would do. But instead, we built a modern building, but it very carefully articulated to echo the older building. Okay, and you will see that throughout the thing, you don't even notice when you go there when you transition from old to new. I don't know whether you've noticed. You can't make out when it becomes new, right? And this is how it was done. Many of you have seen it, right? And to do something like this, you need to make really perfect drawings to know, understand what the character of the whole building is, and that's what you get when you do a good job. Okay? Right. This is what it looks like at night. This is a fountain is now not working properly, but it used to look like that. And now the fountain's coming back very, very shortly. Something's gone wrong with it. But it's become it's what I would call a public-private space. You understand, there are 3-4 types. One is a private public space. One is a public-private, it's a public space belonging to all of us, government, but its access is controlled. It's a privacy, access is controlled. You can only go there at certain times, right? That's what it looks like inside. Okay, so what do you do if you have to create it from scratch? What do you do if somebody asks you to build a modern office building, right? So all of you better watch out because the Paris Climate Accord is coming into being. India is a signatory to that, and the COP2 or COP27 recommend from 2027 onwards, every single building material that you use, everything, and it's a new code for all of you to learn, has to comply to those sustainable guidelines, including cement. You have to start using only LC3 cement. You have to reduce the amount of embedded and embodied carbon in whatever you're doing. Because the world, it's become now, our construction and architecture and interiors are contributing close to 40% of all greenhouse gas emissions. It's too much. It's just too much. We need to reduce it dramatically down to a controllable level, right? And this is how it's done. From a product point of view, from a construction point of view, from the use point of view, what happens when the end of the building also comes, there's the end of life story, and what happens beyond even that, what happens to all the material. So you have to be able to address all these issues from a sustainability point of view. It's not just, you can't just put 2 solar panels on your roof and say greenwashing, I did my stuff. As architects, your responsibility goes much, much deeper, right? Most cities in the world, maybe some of you can, do you know which city is on the left? Anybody? New York. What city is on the right? Is it also New York? This is the tragedy of modern architecture. On the right side is Gurgaon. It's unbelievable to think that the whole world is starting to look alike. And that's why I'm saying we are copying all these rotten Western frameworks and models, and we think that is good architecture. Right? This is rotten, energy guzzling buildings which won't look good within less than 5 years after they are built. Right? So, my thesis is that sustainable design must transcend greenwashing and also some what I would call brown washing. Just making it mud color doesn't make it sustainable. A lot of architecture I see people freaking out on mud plaster and lime additives and stuff like that. That doesn't make it sustainable. It's good in its own aesthetic way, but not necessarily. It's a brown washing technique to claim that it is sustainable, right? You must integrate policy, you must integrate placemaking, and also performance-driven design. How now with sensors and with AI and all this goody stuff, you should be able to monitor once you design it, how does it work? Is it working sustainably also, right? And how do you reduce impact on the environment, right? This is a project we're just about finishing in Whitefield, opposite the Satya Sai Hospital. I don't know whether you know that. It's an office building, but it's an unusual office building, right? and it's called One Earth. It's also designed in such a way that the lowest layer is completely open to the public. There are cafes, there are restaurants, there are places you can also just hang out and do nothing. If you want, you don't want to do anything, you can go sit there. And it's available as a 24 by 7 to everyone. Right? And to do this, we have a climate modeling lab in the office. We can simulate anything from any temperature, any way the building will perform, and started looking at it from all aspects of design, orientation, shading, energy use, how material quality, etc. And developed a facade model with the heat maps all over the place, right? And you will notice now the building is different from every zone. There is an upper zone treated differently, there's a middle zone treated differently, and there's a bottom zone again treated differently. Right? These were all the initial 3D models of it, and how to also increase, as I said, not enough to put some photovoltaic panels and pretend you did a job. How can you actually do it seriously? What is on-site renewable energy? How do you make sure that, and to convince a developer of all this is the most difficult job of all. Because, and from there, it obviously costs a little more than a normal building, but over a 10-year span, the life cycle cost is half that of a normal building. So that usually catches their attention, because developers, when they rent it out, the maintenance charge is a huge factor in a company taking it on rent. Right? And learn from nature, biophilia. Okay, the entire thing is full of sensors. It gives you all kinds of fancy outputs. It monitors every single aspect about the building, etc. And the building is almost ready. It's opposite that metro, and this is what it looks like. What we call a smart office, right? That's one way to create. What if you have an urban asset which has to be brought back to life, right? We did Church Street, as all of you know, right? And after that, I'm a sucker for punishment. So I said Church Street was 1 kilometer. So let us say, I said, let's bite off more than we can chew. Let's see what happens. And we took the most poorest area in India and the most distressed asset, a stormwater drain, only in name. It was a sewage water drain, okay, and full of garbage also. When we cleaned up this drain, I found an entire sofa set there, including side tables. My God, what people. So that's why I'm saying we don't care. We throw things like that outside our compound wall, and things magically it will disappear. It's not going to work. Right? This is the oldest known map of Bangalore. It is 1791. And I've just enhanced it a bit to show that in 1791, can anybody tell, this is City Market at this point. The fort doesn't exist. The walls are gone. This is the old city of Bangalore. This map is made in 1791. And somebody had the brain in 1791 to map a 30-kilometer radius around the city at that time. Right? And you see all these green things, they are the marshes and the Raja Kaluves. And you see, Bangalore is the largest city in the world. As I said, not next to a natural resource, which meant that it could be invaded from any direction without warning. So the ancients, much before Kempegoda, probably in the 5th century AD, the Ganga dynasty, they made this series of artificial, there are no lakes in Bangalore, they're all artificial tanks made by human beings. And you see everything as a straight line, that's a dam. They made dams, and each one would overflow into the other, and this filled up. It also created a marsh in between, what you see in the green. And you could not enter Bangalore except like this, except like this, and except like this. And all the Kempegowda towers you see even till today are the watchtowers on high points to see if any invading army is coming. So it was simultaneously a water mechanism for the city, because you can't survive without water, and also a defense mechanism at the same time. Incredible brains. And somebody had the brains to map it out at that time. No? Can you recognize Alsur Lake right behind us? Yeah. It's already there in 1791. Right? And as Buchanan writes in 1791, because of very little, only these lakes were the water, the place was actually not green at all. It was quite open and everything had to be watered artificially. Right? So we took this project, this is the watershed. Can you recognize landmarks here? That's Kaban Park. That's Lalbagh here. You can see the Lalbagh Lake here. And this is the drain called K100, which starts near Chickpet and ends in Belandur Lake. It goes through Sudhamnagar, Double Road, Ejipura, Kormangla, etc., etc. And funnily enough, it goes from the poorest area, and in the end, it goes through the richest areas of Bangalore. It's a unusual drain, right? And this is what it looked like when we started. It looks hopeless, right? And will any of you volunteer to fix that in the room? That's why I'm saying bite off more than you can chew. So some impossible thing. And because the drain was actually more adequate, but it was filled with silt and solid waste, and every time it rained, all it would happen is mix with this and overflow next door. Bangalore shouldn't flood at all. We are on a ridge. Everything should flow away. But if you do this, this is what will happen. So I said, let's stop this. Right? And politicians don't understand hydraulics, showing them fancy drawings and all that. I went and showed the chief minister just this one slide. I said, it looks like shit like this, I'll make it look like that. I said, to do that, it will cost about 150 crore. But I'll do this for 11 kilometers. And so I think it's worthwhile spending about 10 crore a kilometer to fix it. It's okay. Sounds reasonable. So the chief minister in his vision said, yes, do it. Execute it. It's just a crazy project. As I said, you don't wait to be asked. It's just bugging me. So we just mod foundation through which we do all these things. We throw 20 ideas like this to the government every few months. At least one or two stick. Right? Church Street stuck like that. This one has got done to a large extent. And you'll be surprised at what something, okay. So then what we thought was a sewage flowing in a stormwater drain problem turned out to be a much bigger problem. All these guys had some finger in it. Water board, some health department in BBMP doesn't talk to the solid waste management department. The solid waste management doesn't care who is the stormwater drain. So forget about inter-agency coordination. Intra-agency is a royal mess. In Bangalore, it's broken. The civic governance system is completely broken. So we have to make all these characters come in, and then BESCOM doesn't like any of them. Right? And there is a pollution control board who says, oh, you shouldn't pollute. But they won't do anything about it. So it became like a nightmare. And, to get all this, then I had to go back to the chief minister and request him. So he asked a very senior IAS officer at that time to oversee the whole thing. Mrs. Vandita Sharma, she was the ACS at that time. She started calling meetings, and if she calls, everybody comes. It's the law, right? And finally, the org structure evolved to something like this, where the government was sitting on top. These are the three main stakeholders. We were sitting in the middle. And then, of course, Bangalore there are more civic activists per square kilometer in Bangalore than any other city on earth. So everybody wants to have a say in the matter. They want to express their opinion. Some slum dweller federation, street hawker federation, LGBTQ association. My God. I mean, every day I was wondering, where are these characters coming from? They don't have any other... everyone's got an opinion on what to do in that drain. So finally we mapped the drain and then also said that it's a great opportunity to do 2-3 things. One, to... the vision was, how do you... Bangalore doesn't have a river. Can I give a river back to Bangalore? If not a river, at least a stream. A flowing freshwater stream. Just imagine it looked like Amsterdam or something, no? Not really, but okay, Amsterdam on the cheap. How do you create some urban asset, a grey, boring asset into a green, renewable public space? Huge challenge it is. So we mapped everything, figured out where it was. It's also a great opportunity to exercise groundwater recharge. how to create a wetland. It's not what architects do, but architects are megalomaniacs. Now we can do anything. We don't you let us run the country, we'll do that also, but nobody will let us, that's all. Okay, and stuff like that. And we had to go through all these. There were specialists, of course, in each of this, and we brought everybody together, right? And what looked like this? This was opposite the bus stand on Shantinagar. Many of you must have seen it. And that was mostly urination, defecation, and other unspeakable acts were going on there. Government property in the middle of the city, more than an acre in area. And Bangalore, do you remember I said the last park was created in 1880? I said, let's change that. Let's make a new park. Give Bangalore a brand new park. We've not seen it for years. So what looked like that, because of our design intervention, I mean, I have a 1.5 hour presentation on this. If any of you are interested, we'll talk about it. But quickly, it looks like that. Such a dramatic transformation in less than 1 year, right? And you see, there's almost no sewage. 130 million liters reduced to 2 million liters. It's 2 million, still too much. But I'm going to get rid of that. But all the people who used to wait for bus in the bus stand now wait here. What was that? Sorry. Okay, what looked like this? Raw sewage. These guys had built 7-foot high compound walls and put a 4-foot high fence, and people were throwing garbage over that. Inventive, you know. Because everybody, the Raja Kaluve means king canal in Kannada, right? It had become Kachada Mori. Shakada, like what we could, right? And people's minds also was, this is the garbage dump. So you have to re-give an asset back to the city by changing people's minds also, right? So as architects, don't talk to only to other architects. You have to learn to talk to everyone. Paura Karmika to local dweller to all classes. You have to include everybody. If you don't do that, projects like this, as I said before, great cities are great only when they are and created by and everybody. That is the principle, right? It looks like that now. The same thing. Unbelievable, right? And you go and see it. You can go for a walk on it if you like. It's open to public now, a part of it. There is a little bit of sewage still flowing, as you can see. But imagine the sewage was flowing till here. That much is gone. Bengaluru Lake hasn't caught fire. We haven't come on New York Times first page as it used to come. Oh, Bengaluru Lake catches fire. You know? The birds have started coming back to Bengaluru Lake. You know, and property prices are increasing, etc. Right? What look like this? See, this is what we tolerate. Will you tolerate this in your house or in your private development? No chance, right? Why do you tolerate this in public? Look at this. Dangerous, you'll fall down and die. That cable, if you touch it, it's a 220 kilovolt. You will vaporize. You don't need to be cremated. Like one. You'll literally, I'm not joking, you don't need anything. You just vanish into a puff of smoke. And it's open like that. This is public safety problem. That looks like that now. We created 23 brand new bridges in this place, right? And we also put in very clear signage because when it rains, it will flood. And then a warning siren will sound, you have to get out. You cannot be inside when there is a heavy downpour. The entire thing will fill up with water, I'll show you. Right? It will fill up like this. So you have to be careful not to be there when the recent rain also, our drain look like this, the rest of Bangalore look like that. Right? And now it looks like this at night. You can fully lit beautifully, both sides, and you can walk on that almost for 6 kilometers now. It will extend to about 10 in a little short while, in another 6 months or so. Okay. So, to reiterate, now the World Bank has come and seen it. They've given almost 5,000 crore to Bangalore to redo the rest of the drain. So to encapsulate all this and to bring together something, we started something recently called the Bangalore Design Center. You're all welcome to come and visit it. It's a place where you all go to regularly, Church Street, you know, the social bar, right on the 6th floor of that. You can walk in any day of the week. It has fantastic maps of Bangalore. It also has a ceiling projection, and it has continuous programs about how water comes to the city, how the city's evolution changes, what, etc., etc. And there is also a free public library with more than 5,000 books on design and town planning. Come and have a, please use it. It's free for everyone. Right? So I'll end here by saying that, don't simply pay lip service to words like sustainability, etc., etc. They're all inherently desirable. It's like, having a nice meal or something like that. Everybody likes good food, right? But basically, sustainability is very difficult to measure. What is sustainable? Is it culturally sustainable? Or is it just energy sustainable? Or is it something beyond all that stuff? And the true negotiation, as an architect, I find myself sometimes on critiquing the very powers that I serve. I'm in a position which is a complication, which is I have to criticize the very people that I work for to give me money to survive. And to be able to live in this paradoxical, neither here or there world is what, like he says, an architect, how do you navigate the force that obstruct these well-intended outcomes? And if for those of you who haven't read Rainer de Graaf, it's probably one of the greatest memoirs. All of you should buy it. It's called Four Walls and a Roof. It's about an architect's 50-year journey in the field. Extremely well written. How he negotiates. He used to work for Rem Koolhaas, and from nothing, Four Walls and a Roof. That's the name of the book. Right? Thank you. If you need to follow us, you can stick out your phone and take a picture of it. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir.
So hang out here for questions. Or?
Your vision of urbanization is what is much needed now, giving something back. Sustainability is indeed not a certification. We now open the floor to any questions from the audience. If you have any, please feel free to raise your hand.
Put on the audience lights, I can't see anything. Switch on the lights. Thank you, my God. It's quite a lot of people. I didn't realize the room was that full. Anyway. Anybody?
So, great address, as always. I think it's very inspiring for us youngsters who are also wanting to be in the city, living in the city, but also want to see it as one of the world's greats. And it really gives us a framework to do that. I am curious, sort of as an extension to that, there are a lot of youngsters in this room who are, on the precipice of going into the professional world, architects and engineers and other allied fields. What would you say is something that, since you have worked in this environment where you worked with public bodies, you worked with people in influence, what are some skills that we need to pick up and nurture to be influential and to get our ideas across, and also to, be on the pathway to, even suggest projects like these, or to be boldly, continue to work on it while there's so much opposition, or get our points across? So what were some learnings that you could share with us?
Well, I think the first thing you need to cultivate is a sense of how to truly collaborate. And for collaborate, you have to learn how to listen, not talk. Okay, and that listening is a problem in a relationship. It's a problem in work also. Most relationships fail because the other person doesn't listen. So, right? And that's a very important skill. Second, you have to learn how to negotiate, how to give and take, and three, that's why you're an architect in the first place. You have to you have to be able to see it. When you go somewhere, don't do sightseeing, SIGHT. Do sightseeing, SIT. See the site with open eyes, and then you will understand, even in your own neighborhood, what you see as bad quality is actually an opportunity. If you can fix that, and then once you put your mind on it, the confluence of forces will come around you. Just all you do is make up your mind. I need to fix this. It doesn't matter. Smallest thing in your neighborhood, start with. Don't do all these megalomaniac things. I've done lots of small things and failed before I managed to succeed with this. Because with each you learn a lesson. So don't make the same mistakes I'd made, make some new mistakes. That's the only thing I can tell you. But really, humility, understanding that government is also you, people like you and me. But if you go with what can I do without a hidden agenda and without a vest, all this I do pro bono, free, completely free, public good. Because in government only gives contracts. The reason why India looks like the public realm looks like it is because all government contracts are given at L1, which is the lowest tender. Okay, I am L0, but the smartest factor in that. So you have to be the highest common factor in technical knowledge and how to put it together. If required, even spend money to do that. And you have to be the lowest common denominator, which is 0, which means the government has to ask me to do it. But I don't want any money. What are you going to do now? Etc. And you also have to have credibility to be able to do it. And genuinely also to some extent have some love for Bangalore. It won't work otherwise. If you think this is a transient place in your life, don't bother. Just crib a little more, write some more Insta reels and go home and go to wherever you came from. We don't really, every time a tech CEO threatens to leave Bangalore, I'm the first one to say, okay, bye. We got lots, don't worry. No, we got lots. We got 15 lakh techies in the city. It's a bit too much. We need more artists here. We need more poets here. We can't just keep endlessly doing this economic crazy stuff. And last but not the least, develop a network. And that won't work just like that. You have to become part of organizations, part of public service institutions. It could be anything. It could be a Rotary Club. It could be a neighborhood association. It could be anything. And try to devote some part of the weekend, at least if you're busy during the week, do at least something every Saturday, Sunday, even if it's just reading a book with a bunch of people in a park. Even that makes the park look used. Don't just, I don't know, there are many things you can do, but I understand from a young people's perspective, it looks impenetrable and very difficult to break through. But it looked like that to me then also, when I was your age. But as I said, you have to be an irresistible force pushing at what seems to be an immovable object. It's again a complexity problem. So you have to be able to do that and actually derive power from that creative paradox. It's a paradox, but you should be able to do it. I'm sure you can. Anybody else? Okay, I think that's it then. Oh, somebody here. Okay.
First of all, it was a very, very lovely presentation. I loved it. I actually live in US, so until now I was wondering why I came here. But after listening to your presentation and what you have done, I really loved it. And my question is, how do we scale this and keep doing it? Obviously, one of the thing is governmental red tape, and the funding is the other one. Nowadays, we can do a lot of crowdfunding. Have you ever thought of crowdfunding and going to the government with the project and do
Yeah,
this?
I mean, it's not very, it's very, very difficult to, first of all, to give. I actually don't want money. Government, we are not a
Not
resource,
for you,
we
but
are
the
not
for
a, no, no, we are
right.
not a resource constrained country.
Correct. I
We are
understand
not a
that.
developing country. We are a
No,
little,
no, I agree
we
with
are
you.
badly
Totally.
developed country. Okay, I agree with that. But we're not poorly developed country, but we are no resource constraint. We actually need people's time and dedication
And
without
vision, yeah.
any reward for themselves.
Right.
You have to be selfless in that. You cannot see in any project I do, many of you notice there is no branding at all. I don't put my name on it. I give all, like, when Harry Truman, are you from the US?
Yes.
Very good. You had a president called Harry Truman
Yes.
after the World War. He said, you can achieve anything in life as long as you give someone else the credit.
That's true,
That's
yeah.
true, right? 11 kilometer, Bangalore has 842 kilometer of stormwater drain.
Right.
400 primary, 452 secondary and tertiary. Okay. This project cost us 150 crore for about 11.3 kilometers and about 30 kilometers of secondary drains, approximately.
Right.
To scale it up to Bangalore, it requires about 9,000 crore. That is crowdfunding if you're really serious.
Right,
We're
that's
not
what
worried
I'm saying.
about 100 crores, 50 crores, and all that.
Right.
The World Bank has now, based on this project, given the Karnataka government a loan of 5,000 crores. But you have to find a way to build trust. If you can do that, etc., and also make sure that the right outcome comes into place, it's possible to do it.
I think we have people who have that drive in them and passion to do it.
Now, have you come back to India for good? Maybe I can recruit you to do help.
I can. I've been, no, seriously, I never wanted to go there. I couldn't find a job. I went for masters.
Now you've
This
got
is
H1B
87.
problems, you can't go back. Yeah,
No, I don't have H1B problem, but
I'm just joking.
I know.
But a lot of people called me this morning panicking. No, my daughter can't come, I can't go. And I said, just hold on for 48 hours, some court will strike it down.
I actually worked for 3 years in construction. Then when I looked for a job, there was absolutely not. I'm talking this
In
like
Bangalore, you
90s.
can't find
Not
a job in
Bangalore.
construction?
I'm from Hyderabad, so
Hyderabad, you can't find a job in construction? My
in
God.
no, this is 1990.
Long ago, okay.
So then I wrote GRE and just went there, and I got stuck. So obviously, like
So you should
everybody.
come back and contribute to our country.
I can, but I don't know how and where to
Yeah,
penetrate.
this is how you
That's
do it. You start small. You start somewhere. Don't keep saying what to do. Find some tiny thing in your neighborhood and do it. It doesn't matter. And that slowly it will balloon and people will come together. Indians are generally fraternal and they like to do things together. We're fairly good at that and leverage that. So thank you once again, all of you. I hope it wasn't too long.
Thank you, sir.
And feel free to follow both BLR Design Center. BLR is the airline code for Bangalore on Instagram. And I'm also there on Instagram if you want to. But I usually post some nonsense, so it's up to you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful answers. To mark this moment, I would like to invite Alifia from Designment to felicitate our esteemed keynote speaker. I kindly welcome you to the stage.